Do you want to improve at a quicker pace? Check out GITGUDRacing.com, where I'm offering the most accessible coaching sessions on the market.
Now for the track guide. For turn 1, what I use firstly is this exit road to open up the corner. You want to steer just a bit left, few degrees, so at turn-in to use this part of the track, so the left tires should be past the white line, and then turning into the corner without a lift or without a brake. You really want to carry this downforce and the speed towards the corners, so still flat out with a fixed setup. I'm braking just a bit afterwards, so carrying the speed, braking just a bit, but staying in 6th gear to carry the speed on entry, but braking no more than 20%, 30, 15, something like that, and stay on the brakes until you see the car point, because the moment I'm releasing the brakes is the moment that I feel like the car is pointing towards where I want, and this is where I'm aiming, this curve, because here is a lot of grip because it's a bit cambered, and you want to stick it very close to the blue and yellow curve, so I'm almost touching it with my wheels, and the moment that I arrive here, I'm already back on 100% throttle. So the trail brake is just to make the car point. Don't brake more than that, don't brake to 25-30%, because you're gonna overslow the car and you will kill the momentum into this corner. So really keeping the minimum speed up, and the moment that I arrive here, because now I have to go uphill, I'm downshifting to 5th, so I will have the right engine RPMs to climb it, because otherwise 6th is gonna be slower, and if you're gonna downshift to 5th while you're going into this corner, you will lose just a bit on the entry, 0.0 something, so 6th on entry, 5th on exit. Now this part is very tricky, because the next corner is gonna be a blind corner, and your entry into the next corner, it's gonna be crucial. Like if you miss the entry, you're gonna miss the corner. You can make or break the lap in this part of the track. So what I'm doing, and what seems to be consistent for me, is this. I bring the car more to the center of the track at this point. Now I'm keeping it close to center, and I'm looking left, like my vision is here, because the moment that I see the grass uphill, like I'm seeing it right now, I will start to turn left more and more, because I will want to align, my end result is aligning with the curb that it's after this hill. So now I'm seeing this grass, and I know, okay, I can start aligning myself with the curb. So I steer more, and now whenever I see more of the grass right here, I steer even more, and at this point I'm using the most amount of steering angle. Like in this frame, I give it a bit of a blimp to the left side, and I also do a small lift, like a 3-4% lift, just to make sure that the car will point. Ideally you won't lift at all, however I will find this very hard to do consistently lap after lap. So I think that if I'm gonna race this track, I will do every lap a small lift in race. So right now I can see the grass more, so turning even more, because I want to arrive on entry with my left tires on this curb. And what ends up happening is that it's exactly that. I'm with my left tires almost touching the grass. And the moment that I'm mounting the curb, I'm applying the brakes, because you don't have a lot of time. So the braking will be almost in the middle of the curb, but realistically you will feel like you mount the curb and then you're gonna brake, and it's gonna be the same thing. While braking, downshift just 1 gear, because 3rd is gonna be super slow here. So go from 5th to 4th, and then immediately at the end of the curb, you must throw the car into the corner, even though you don't see it. So the curb ends here. When the curb ends, throwing the car into the corner with the trail brake, releasing the trail brake while you go towards the corner, so you don't understeer on entry because of the trail brake. Because if you have too much trail brake, you're gonna understeer. If you don't have trail brake at all, you're gonna understeer. So you really don't want to be understeering into this corner, so carrying the right amount of trail brake is gonna be key here. So don't brake too much. If you're gonna brake to 50, 60, it's possible that you will, firstly you will overslow the car, but it's also possible that you will understeer due to keeping the same pressure while turning. So unless you bleed it off, then you will still overslow the car. So don't brake too much, downshift to fourth, turn the car at the end of the curb, and right now you have to be back on power even before touching the curb. Like for me, I'm trailing to this point, and now here, before touching the curb, I'm already back on throttle. This is gonna be super important because this, you're gonna carry up until this hill around here. So you have a big straight right now. The earlier you're gonna be on throttle, the most of the time you're gonna gain. So nice and early on the throttle, don't do many correction on the throttle, just send it, go flat to 100, and don't be afraid to go wide because this curb is here to catch you. This curb will balance the car quite nicely, and then you just have to steer or counter steer a bit with the steering wheel like I'm doing right now to keep it tight. But this speed, getting this much speed here, is gonna offset the fact that you're gonna go a bit wider. So carry more speed, you're gonna gain on entry and you also gain on exit because being earlier on throttle. So we're trying to achieve both of them. Right now, taking this curb and now this one. For the next corner, I'm braking in the middle of this curb while mounting this curb. This is super important because you really want to open up as much as possible. So I'm putting my tires almost to the grass. I'm braking whenever I'm putting my car on this curb. So whenever I'm aligned, I'm quickly applying the brakes, and I'm downshifting to fourth gear. I'm apexing at the end of this curb right here without touching the curb and immediately smashing the throttle pedal. Using all this exit, this is the limit that you can use. I almost got the off track while touching the sand. I didn't touch the sand though, so it was very close, but that's the limit that you can go into this corner. I think this was a very good corner for me, and the previous one as well. So until now the lap was looking quite good. Going into the next corner, I used this first line as a reference for braking because I will brake slightly past it. So slightly past it, let's say in the middle of the first line and the second line, I'm applying the brakes. I don't brake that hard and I'm downshifting to fourth while going into this corner because right here you will have a lot of grip. So my goal is to trail around here, and the moment that I arrive at this curb, to smash the power because this road is cambered, there's a lot of grip here. We have a compression here, so smashing the throttle. And for the next one, this will lead to a big straight, so the exit is quite important. I use as a reference for braking the moment in which I straighten up the car to be efficient under braking. So I have a lot of speed, I carried a lot of speed from the previous corner. I'm aligning myself so I can open up the corner, so I'm putting my left tires on this curb, I'm aligning myself with the grass, and the moment that I finished aligning, I'm applying the brakes. I'm downshifting to third. I try to take not an early apex, but not super late because I want to carry the speed into this corner. However, this was a bit too early, so I would take just a bit of a later one. I used this curb. I don't recommend using that much though. It wasn't slow, but the faster way is if you use just a bit less, so that you won't lose a bit of time when the suspension gets loaded, unloaded, and then on the exit again, I'm using a bit too much. So use a bit less curb in both of them, but what is important to look is this throttle application. You don't want to have a gap in between this brake and the throttle. If you're gonna have a gap in this corner, it's gonna be super difficult to make up for the time you lost here, because you're gonna lose a lot of time on this big straight. So it's important to blend the inputs, and also it's important to avoid having these small lifts like I did here. I did it because of the curve and I lost a bit of time, so don't do that. And now going for the last sequence of corners, I use as a reference for braking here the first line from here. Slightly past it, I want to brake. I brake here slightly before it or on the line. You can get away with braking past it because look, I picked to 94. You can pick to 100 to brake more efficiently, and the car will stop just a bit earlier, so you can brake a bit later. But while going into this corner, I found that the fixed setup oversteers a lot here. Like on turning, the car just wants to get away from you. So what you should do, you should release the brakes more quickly into this corner. So because I wasn't efficient under braking, I had this quick drop, and now I'm trying to make up for that. But at this point the car starts oversteering. I would try to keep 100% a bit more and then do the drop. It's probably gonna work. You want to cut this curve but without the small moment of oversteer, because whenever you're oversteering that much, you're using the front tires to counter steer basically, or to catch the car, and at that moment you're not at the limit with the front tires. So avoid oversteering into this corner. Now putting the power down nice and early, that was nice for me, because at this point I was already back on power 100%. Take this curve, but don't do this big lift. I did this lift just because my tires were too hot from the previous corner, so I kind of burned the tires with the oversteer moment, and I had to do this correction here because it felt like the car won't stick. But if you won't have the moment in that corner, you should be able to take this flat or with a small lift, something like 5% lift, not like a 25% lift. So this lift under throttle is something that you should avoid. Now for the last corner, this is flat, just keeping it tight, don't go far left, you won't gain anything. And in short, that's a track guide for this week in F4. I wish you a great week ahead, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.